News today, everywhere from the chip level all the way up to autonomous agents. So we're going to get into it, and then I'll kind of give you a take on how it fits together. So number one, we have 4% higher yields at the new TSMC chip plant in Arizona. TSMC is the company that builds the chips that make AI possible today. They're located in Taiwan. That's where their main plant is. It is a big, big, big deal that they got higher yields on their chips in Arizona. What higher yields mean is that they have a lower failure rate on chips. Chips are very expensive. They require virtually zero defects to work. The fault tolerances make my mind hurt. And if they got 4% higher yields on their chips, it means that it is not only economically viable to manufacture in Arizona, it is economically preferable. And that is a huge deal because geopolitically speaking, Arizona is a much more stable place than Taiwan. And one of the things that's been a sleeper risk factor for AI has been the risk of Taiwan getting into a regional conflict with China. So that one helps me sleep better at night. Let's move on to the actual AI modeling side. So number one, Claude has released two really interesting things. First, Claude released analysis, which solves one of the big persistent issues people have with how you use AI to get accurate data. I have seen people who are building entire startups, entire products around the idea that you have to really work hard to reduce hallucinations from base models. I don't think that's necessarily true. I actually think base models have gotten really, really good. That's an artifact of understanding that we had from 2022. And we need to start recognizing how good and accurate these models are. Case in point is this analysis feature from Claude. It directly addresses one of the prime concerns of using a large language model, which is that it's not mathematically inclined. It doesn't do math inherently. Well, Claude fixed that. When you give it a piece of data, it will visualize the data directly, which is a new sort of piece. Like I saw like a little sales graph, like visualized. That was really fun. But it doesn't just visualize it. It actually uses a different engine to break down and analyze the code, break down and analyze the data so that you can get an accurate representation of that data and then they can graph it. And to me, it's the accurate analysis that really is a game changer, because previously you had to depend on a tool that wasn't designed for data analysis, large language models. And now you have a large language model that can just take your query, pass it to something internal that is designed specifically for data analysis, and then pass it back. So it doesn't mean that it handles super huge data sets, but the context window with Claude is decently large. So if you needed a quick look at something from a spreadsheet perspective, it can do it. Give it a try today. And no, Claude is not paying me for that. Second thing, this one's also from Claude, but it gets weird. It gets into agent autonomy stuff. Someone was able to get Claude to, you know how they launched Claude computer use and like Claude like drives around on your laptop? Someone was able to get that Claude that drives around on your laptop and uses the screen to create another Claude inside the virtual window. So, but what happens is you start up a little pane and like it sort of drives around and navigates the screen while you give it commands, etc. Well, this person decided to ask their agent to create another agent inside the virtual machine, and it did. And so we have what I would argue is effectively agent reproduction. Assisted by a human, sure, but it's definitely a milestone I'm keeping an eye on, because the idea that agents incept or create or start instances of other agents is something that we're going to be keeping an eye on as we go into 2025, because it shapes the rate at which the internet economy is changing. If there are agents who are able to make lots of other agents very quickly, things can get pretty weird pretty fast. All right. Back to something more manageable. Apple Intelligence is launching with ChatGPT in developer beta just today, which is really exciting. Because one of the complaints I've had about Siri for a long time and Alexa is they're not very smart. And the built-in AI, the Apple intelligence that they gave Siri when they launched the new iPhone, it's not that great. So getting ChatGPT in voice mode into developer mode is a big deal. Like if developers can use it, it's going to head into GA shortly, and millions of people, hundreds of millions of people, are going to get ChatGPT for the first time. That's going to be really interesting to see. All right, last but not least, we have a reflection that I wanted to share. Jason Crawford actually wrote this piece. I'll link it below. And I think it's relevant for builders. So you might look at all of this and say, well, how does this fit together? The answer is it probably doesn't if you're trying to link these stories directly, but it does if you're looking at these stories as symptomatic of a larger ragged tech transition. And I've been saying for a bit now that AI is a ragged tech transition. I thought Jason did a great job writing about that in a blog called The Tech Transition and how big tech transitions are slow. AI is a big tech transition. It's going to take longer than you think. And so one of the things that's interesting to me is I report the news like it's a flat piece of news. Like here's news 1, here's news 2, here's news 3. But the reality is even these news items are living at effectively different points in our collective future. If I were to tell my parents that AI agents are reproducing themselves, they would look at me like I was from Mars. But if I were to tell them that Apple Intelligence is getting smarter, they would be like, cool, maybe I'll talk to it, right? So I think one of the things that we need to recognize as builders is that in that raggedness between the cutting edges of the future and the current state where human intelligence is the default, there is massive opportunity, billions and billions of dollars of opportunity, hundreds of billions of dollars of opportunity in figuring out how to bring the right piece of the future forward. And that's a lot of what startups do is they pick something that is technically possible, but that humans haven't really done yet. And they say, let's make it easy. Let's just make it easy to do this. And it feels like magic to the humans who are experiencing it for the first time. There are still billions of people who have never experienced ChatGPT. That's in the future for them. So think about that. I think there's a lot of opportunity out there for builders. And we will let the AI researchers worry about AI alignment and how to keep agents from doing things they should not be doing, because that is absolutely a situation where I'm like, this is something that doesn't get fixed except at kind of the core model level and the AI alignment level. So we will see. And good luck out there building. Have a great weekend. I'll link that essay that Jason wrote around tech transitions. I think it's worth a read. It's not that long. It's like 3 or 4 minutes.